Okie oh, that's awesome. People have turned and looked and I don't even have to say anything. That's great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to BCS for 2022, to our first week of term, first week of semester, first week of the year. It's good to be back in person with you all. Warm welcome to you if you've been with us previously. If you're a BCS returner, great to have you back along. If you're new to our group, if you haven't been before, or if you're visiting or something like that, checking us out, it's also great to see you as well. Just to give you a bit of an idea of what tonight will look like. So tonight we're going to begin with a Bible reading, and then after we have our Bible reading, we're then going to hear a talk from Seno based on that passage, and he's going to help us understand some of the big ideas from that passage. Then after that, we're going to have a Q&A panel as well. So at that time, if you've got questions, there's a phone number which will be up on the slideshow at the back, or just think, oh, yeah, no, I'll do this anyway. It's okay. If everyone wants to crack out their phone real quick, if you've got your phone and if you want to open your contacts and create a contact for me, because I forgot to introduce my name. I'm Michael. Hopefully I've met most of you. If you want to put it in as Michael Adams or Michael BCS or Michael, whatever you want. Be creative, have fun with it. And yeah, you can crack in my phone number, which will come in handy at the Q&A. So here are the magical digits that you want. You can see them up on the back if you want to look at that, or I will read it out. I should know it, but it is 0427 876 693. That is my number of me. 0427 876 693. Awesome. I wasn't sure because if this is going on YouTube and my number's on YouTube. Anyway. If you are watching this on YouTube, please do not call me or text me. Awesome. Unless you have a question, and we will try and get to it at another point in time, maybe a future TNL. We'll see how we go. Awesome. So we are looking at the book of John tonight. So starting right at the beginning of the book of John, we'll crack right into that and get underway. So I'll invite Rach to come up and she's going to read for us and we'll go from there.
Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Rachel. I'm third year nursing. And tonight we're reading from John, chapters 1, verses 1 to 18. So it says, I'm reading from the NIV too, by the way. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. The true light that gives light to everyone was coming into the world. He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor of human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. John testified concerning him. He cried out, saying, "This is the one I spoke about when I said, 'He who comes after me has surpassed me, because he was before me.' Out of his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace already given. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in the closest relationship with the Father, has made him known."
Well, g'day everyone. G'day if you're online as well. This feels a bit strange. It's amazing to be back in person. We forget the last few months of last year, most of second semester, we didn't actually meet together. So this is the first time we've been together in the same room for a long time. So welcome back, everyone. It's great to be here. And we're going to spend first term this year reconnecting with Jesus, finding out who he is and what he's all about. And tonight we're starting meeting Jesus in the Gospel of John. And I want to say at the beginning of this, I think everybody wants their life to mean something. I think all of us, you've made a choice to come and study something for a reason. And some of those reasons may be pretty banal. I just need a job, and so this was something that might have fitted. But you might have other reasons. This job really helps people, or I really think I can achieve something in this career. We want our lives to mean something, to be going somewhere. We want to connect with something bigger. Now, often we have this impulse just to kind of sink down and just switch off and disconnect. But I think in our best moments, we want to be a part of something bigger than just ourselves. We want to achieve something in the world. We want something transcendent. I think the word I'm searching for, I'm scratching around for, the thing that we long for and reach for is glory. Now, when I say glory, I don't mean being a glory hound. I don't mean that kind of idea of someone just kind of gunning for glory for themselves. What I mean is that idea that we're looking for that sense of rightness of who we are, that we've connected with what life is about, that we've achieved something greater than just me, that we've been part of something bigger. We want to have a real impact on ourselves. We want to have a real impact on other people and the world. We want to know that our lives have been impactful and important. We want real life, a life that matters, a life that makes a difference for the good, a life that affects the world around us. And we want that to be real life, true life. We don't want it to be some kind of fake thing. We don't want it to be, it's no good for our lives just to be cool, but not real. We want to do something that really matters. Fake glory is no glory. And I think those things are tumbling around our heads. We want our life to matter. We want to be able to look back on our life and go, my life mattered. My life mattered. I did something that mattered. I affected people. And it mattered. We want our lives to matter. And I think what we're searching for there is the glory of being human. And as we grow up, I think what we begin to realise is that's pretty hard. Glory is a hard beast to nail down. We begin to realise glory feels impossible to us. We want glory and life and truth, but we can't seem to get them. We can't seem to get it right. You only have to look at the world at the moment, don't you? Descending into madness again in Eastern Europe to see how we're reaching for great things, but we can't seem to get there. No matter how hard we try, no matter how much we reach, we can't seem to grasp it completely. And we just circle around. We seem to get better and worse and better and worse and better and worse, and we never quite get there and never quite achieve it. We can't quite see it. We can imagine what human glory is. We can imagine what it would be for us to be truly glorious. But we don't seem to be able to see it in the world. We catch little glimpses of things, but it's never fully achieved. And that can leave us, I guess, with lots of different reactions. You can be frustrated, and you can just go through life constantly frustrated that things don't work out, that the uni never seems to get enrolments right. Why am all my classes online again? You can be frustrated with things. You can be angry, right? And you can be angry at yourself. You can be angry at other people. Or more commonly for most of us, isn't it? We just feel a bit empty and hopeless. We just feel a bit like it's just not worth caring, and we switch off. Because we can't get it for ourselves, that kind of. I feel like switching off is the TikTok reaction. Is that right? Because TikTok is pretty banal. No, TikTok's not the reaction. Okay. Anyway. I can't say. They're watching me. But I think we have that temptation just to switch off and make life about fun and frivolity. That's what I mean by the TikTok thing. You just make TikTok videos. They're nothing. They're meaningless. They're frivolous things. And we can make life just about that, right? So, if I can never get to what I'm really meant to be, well, why bother? I'll just switch off and just have fun. I think that's a fairly common response for Australians. Or we can try to achieve somewhere else. We can try and get a glimpse of our glory somewhere else. And I think this is why people sink into worlds of gaming online. Because online gaming is about achieving things and achieving great goals and getting glory and those sort of things. And we feel like, well, if I can't seem to work it out here, perhaps I can work it out there. It's that kind of Ready Player One thing. The real world feels kind of black and white and a bit nothing, but the real me is the online me. And so we tend to kind of invest somewhere else. We feel like we can get something that feels a bit glorious and good, but it's not real life. Or we can go full Putin, but we can actually try and get something for ourselves. We can step on other people. We've got our own version of that, don't we? The Vlad's doing it on a large scale at the moment, but that is just the same thing as basically making our ambitions, our desire for ourselves and what we can get, more important than other people and other things. Okay, so I think they're responses that we have when we feel like we're reaching for glory, but we can't get it. We can switch off, we can try and find it somewhere else, some kind of made-up place, or we can step on people. Is there a path for us to glory? Is there a way for you, your life, to be glorious? To be what humanity, what you feel, what you glimpse in your imagination and your dreams that humanity was meant to be? Well, the answer is no, but it turns out, even though there's not a path for us to get to glory, glory has charted a path to us. Glory has come to us. Now, people have lots of different opinions about Jesus. And we've seen that in the last week. If you're at Market Day and you've stuck a sticker on the board, people had different opinions about who Jesus was to them. People think all different thoughts about him. But those who were there, those who were around when Jesus walked the earth, saw something different. They saw something much bigger. And I want to begin with the bigness of the big. Have a look at verse 1 of John. This is how John introduces us to Jesus. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. When John wants to introduce us to Jesus, he doesn't start by pointing out some bloke on a dusty road in Palestine. No, he goes back beyond the boundaries of space and time. He goes back before the world was made. He goes back to eternity. And he says, in the beginning, before anything was made, before there was anything, there was God, the Word. He was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And so here is glory. Here is what we're reaching for, something beyond us, something great. Here is true glory. And this glory, John says, he has come face to face with. And so verse 14, have a look down at verse 14. He says, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. We have seen this glory in the flesh. So John's big claim about Jesus is, sure, look, we can't get to glory. We can't chart the path to glory, but glory has come to us. The God who inhabits eternity, the God who stands outside of all creation, who is truly transcendent, has entered the world. He's taken on human flesh. You could see him, you could meet him. We beheld his glory. So the glory we seem to fail at, the glory we long for but can't achieve, stood in front of John, and he saw him. But it's not just the glory there. He also shows us something about glory. So verse 18, John says, no one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God and is in closest relationship with the Father, has made him known. That is, he came not just to be glorious, if you like, not just to go, here I am, you guys all suck, but I'm awesome. No, he came to show us, to teach us what true glory is. He came to teach us about God. The God that we can't get to, the glory we can't achieve, Jesus makes known to us. He makes known God's glory. See, this is an incredible thing about Jesus. It's not that we can get to God. It's not that we can get to glory, but God has come to us. This is what Jesus is all about. I think that's what he means by the word grace, by the way. Grace is that idea, I guess a quick and dirty definition of grace is kind of unmerited kindness that you get for no good you've done. But here it's about the graciousness, the grace like a parent with a child, or like someone who stoops down to speak at a child at their level. The God who doesn't stay far away, but comes to us and shows himself to us, full of grace and truth. And it's not just grace, it is life and truth as well. So have a look at verses 3 and 4. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of mankind or humankind. Jesus is the spark of life, the one through whom all things were created and made. And so verse 9 it says, the true light that gives light to everyone, every person in the world. This is the Creator, the one who made life itself. And he's the one of truth. So we saw that in verse 14, full of grace and truth, and he's the one who truly makes God known in verse 18. He's the one with glory and life and truth. It's come to us in Jesus. Jesus comes to show us glory and to teach us the what and the how of glory, to connect us to glory. And so have a look at verses 12 and 13. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him. Yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children born not of natural descent, nor human decision or a husband's will, but born of God. See, here's why Jesus came. He didn't just come to show, to tell. He came to change things for us, to change our circumstance, to change, to actually make our desires, if you like, that desire that the thing in our imagination that we long for glory, to make that a reality. And so here, the Son, God the Son, enables us to become children of God as well. To those who came to him and who believed in his name, he gave them the right to become children of God, to connect us to glory. You see what Jesus is claiming? This is the setup for Jesus. This is John's kind of big setup for what the story he's going to tell of Jesus' life and his death and his resurrection. And he's saying this is all about God. It's about glory. It's about what you can be, what you can have, what you can gain if you come to know him. The thing that you can't get on your own, the thing that we can't seem to achieve from ourselves, we can have through Jesus. He is God's glory in the flesh. And he comes to show us to that glory. He comes to involve us in that glory. And he comes to invite us to that glory. And the question Jesus asks, and the question we're going to ask week after week is, what do you want for your life? What is your life about? Some of you are just embarking on uni. Some of you are near the end. You're at the last stretch. What do you actually want from your life? What's it going to be about? What's your study, your work, your future going to be about? Will it be about switching off? Will it be about escape from reality, just kind of muddling along? Will it be about grasping after something that we can never quite achieve? Will it be about frustration? Do you want to find that thing that life is about? Do you want to find the glory of humanity, what we were meant for and made for? that elusive and impossible glory and life and truth? Well, that's what Jesus is offering. And in the next few weeks, as we meet him, we're going to find how it is that we get to this glory and what it means. We're going to meet Jesus at different moments of his life and see what it means for us. So that's the question I think we're asking right at the beginning here, is what do we want? What do you want? And what do you seek to gain from life? And Jesus says, he comes, and John says Jesus has those answers. How about we pray? Lord God, we thank you for another year of uni. We thank you for the beginning of things. And we ask that this year would be a great year, that there'd be no more lockdowns, we'd be fully face to face. We thank you that in this time of our life, we get to ask those big questions of who we are and who you are and what it means to know you. And we ask over the next few weeks as we meet Jesus, you'd make it clear to us, not just who he is, but how it is that he shows us what real glory is and how we can be a part of it. Amen.
Hello, I'm Tash. I am going to give you some fun facts. While we think of some good questions to ask and reflect on what Senna said. Now, I forgot that we were facing this way, so I had a PowerPoint plan, but that's not going to work anymore. But I have 3 fun facts for you, and they're to do with Narnia, the movie. Yeah, cool. Oh, I'm also studying nursing. Nice. So, the first fun fact is that there is a scene with wolves. There's actually a couple. And the fun fact about that is that they had to CGI the tails of the dogs that played the wolves out because the dogs were too happy and the tails were wagging too much. The second fun fact is that the actor who plays Edmund, they also had to CGI his height because between the start of the movie and the end of the movie, he grew too much. And then the third fact is not a fact, it's a joke that I thought I came up with, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, it might be a little bit of plagiarism, but that's okay. But do you want to know about the plot of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe? I can't tell you because it's none of your business.
Cool.
Yeah, it is that part of the time where we get into the question and answer part of the time.
It's week 1.
Yeah.
It's been 3 months.
We'll warm up.
So the way this is going to work, as you may have heard before, my number is up on the screen, or you would have heard it before. So if you want to text questions through, if you are feeling brave or spontaneous, you can also stick your hand up, and I'll point at you and try and remember your name. You can ask a question from the floor. But I do have a number of questions that have come through, and thankfully my phone was on silent, so I've been spammed. I've missed several calls. And they're all from right at the start of the meeting too, so not sure who's sending what, but we'll see how we go. And there's a hello. That's nice. Nice and friendly. I'll just go through first question. I haven't screened them or anything, so they're coming as they come. Question number 1. Why does John, throughout his whole gospel and other books, not specifically just this chapter, use the metaphor of light and darkness? And they've kind of qualified that or added some extra spice. Is it perhaps a contrasting metaphor that's easy for us to understand? Is it a reference to Genesis 1? Does Jesus say he is the light, so John is just continuing the same language, etc.? So the original thing, why does John use the metaphor of light and darkness?
I feel like the answer's been given, kind of.
Well, I had a discussion about that this morning, actually. I think there is a connection with Genesis chapter 1. So, right at the very beginning, the first thing that God made was light.
Yes.
And there's darkness. Yeah. And I wonder if it is something that we can understand, which helps us understand life and death.
I feel like the reason I didn't bring up light was that I didn't have to try and explain it. It's an interesting kind of word because it obviously refers back to creation. But what's it a metaphor for? Is it a metaphor for truth versus lies? You can see that a little bit. And life versus death, you can see that a little bit as well. And so we're actually going to, I think we're going to look at this next week.
I'm the light of the world.
I'm the light of the world. So we're
Chapter
going to dig into this a little bit more next week, which is another reason why we didn't bring it up so much today. But it really is a big element in there. And the other one is it a moral thing, good versus evil? And it could be that as well. So it could be life, death, good, evil, true, false.
And so each context will help you understand what it's actually talking about.
Yeah. But so there's a big thing about life and death here, but there's also a big thing about truth here as well. And we're going to see those two things next week in chapter 8. But yeah, it is all through John's stuff. John loves light.
Loves all these little word pictures.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Awesome. I said I would do them in order. I've jumped completely out of order because someone has double texted me, and their second text said, "I like your socks." So whoever that is, I like that you like my socks. Yeah, extra spicy.
All right.
But their question before
You
that,
hold them up for the camera. He can't do one without the other.
No, but their question that they have asked is, what if a life through Jesus feels like an unattainable goal right now? How can we keep trying? Big question.
Well, I think just initially that's part of what grace is about. It's nothing that we can do. It's all about God. So we can just trust that God does it all. And yeah, it's not up to us and what we can and can't do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That the whole issue here is that we often think it's up to me and it's about me, and I have to strive for this thing and it's unattainable for me. And I think the answer to that is yep, and it'll go on being unattainable for us. Yes, I agree with Leslie.
Awesome. That's always good.
That's the point of Jesus. That's the point of that idea of grace, is that Jesus has come to show us and give us that. And so you notice the way you become a child of God, the way you attain glory is through believing in Jesus. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in the next few weeks. But that's that idea of faith, of putting your trust in someone. And we find that hard. And so I think it is fair enough to say that I think the thing that we find difficult is to trust someone else, to trust Jesus. We find that a bit elusive and difficult on its own.
Sweet. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I'm listening carefully, but I'm also getting so distracted.
So many socks.
It's just boom, 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 boom.
Texts.
That can be a later question. That's kind of funny. But here's a nice and sensible one. What kind of form do you think Jesus had when he was the Word at creation? What sort of form? What was he like?
That's very kind of metaphysic and stuff. I'm not sure that he would have a form that we would recognise. So when we talk about form, we talk about this world of space and time and matter and energy. And things consist of matter and energy, which are closely related things. And so we are made up of atoms and molecules and all the quantum things and the big things, where that's the material kind of world. But God exists outside. That's what God made. God made that world. God is not that world. And so I can't describe to you what form Jesus was in, because I can't even imagine what it would be as something that exists outside of the material universe. And so I don't know. It talks about God being spirit, but I don't know what it means for God, Father and Son and Spirit to be spirit.
Do you reckon we will know one day?
I reckon we might know a bit more than we know now one day. Whether we will really know everything, I don't know. I tend to think we won't know everything, but we'll know. We might know a bit more.
No,
Yeah.
just a touch.
Yeah. I think that this is the thing, isn't it? I think what they're driving at is verse 18. No one has ever seen God, but God, the one and only, the one from the Father's side, has made him known. And later on, we're going to get to in a few weeks' time where the disciples ask Jesus, "Show us the Father, and we'll be happy." And Jesus goes, "What? What do you look?" Yeah, duh. And so he has come in a sense, in a form that we can recognise, a human form, to show us the glory of the God who we can't see. But yeah, long answer, short question.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. It made sense in the end. Awesome. I'm going to skip my eyes up, and if anyone has any questions from the floor, now is a great time to ask one from the floor, if you've got one, if you're brave. Awesome. Yep, some have come through. So, here's two different questions. I'm going to do the shorter one first, then the bigger one first.
Second. First and second.
I feel like I was struggling to make sense when I stood out there as well, Michael.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's first week. It's
Week one.
Yeah, the short one first.
We'll get
yeah,
better.
yeah.
the short one first, and the second one not first.
Yeah, what did
Anyway, the question: if no one had ever seen God, what did Moses see when he could only look at the back of God? So I'm assuming this is in reference to Exodus 34.
Exodus
he
34,
saw
yeah.
the
Yeah.
back of,
Yeah,
like the
God
corner of
passed
his
by.
robe. Like he
Yeah.
saw what he said he saw. But then there's the other one where he met as if face to face. So was it literally God's face, or is that just communicating the nature of the relationship?
Yeah.
That Moses had a relationship with God as if they were actually like so close that it was like we're talking to each other.
Yeah.
But was it actually physically God?
Like, did he have a form?
Yeah,
Let's go
yeah.
back to the
I
word.
think it's like with the burning bush, like with all these things, they're a material thing that God pulls together to represent Him, and so that's a burning bush at one time. It's the image of the glory, and then it's visions of glory in different places. And so I'd say what Moses saw was not the eternal God, but he saw something that God showed him.
Because he can't see the eternal God, because if he saw the eternal God, he'd die.
Die.
Because that, God protects him, covers him so that he actually can't see that, because he wouldn't cope.
Yeah.
And when you see a lot of the images, when you go through the Old Testament, you look at all the images of God and of the glory of God. There's these things that are, it's almost like fantastical things. It's like I don't know what to say. It looked a bit like this and a bit like that. But it's an image of the likeness of the glory of the Lord, is how Ezekiel puts it in Ezekiel chapter 1, and it's the glory of God in Exodus 34. Yeah.
Let's springboard a question off that
Yeah,
before I
go
get to
for
the
it.
second first question. I still haven't formulated how to word it, so it's coming as it comes.
In Babylonian.
In just babble. Isaiah 6.
Yeah.
Isaiah beholds the glory of the Lord, sees him high and lifted up, and the train of his robe. But that sort of Isaiah meeting with God in a sense.
Yeah.
But then John goes on to explain that Isaiah saw his glory, his being Jesus' glory, partway through the Gospel of John, I think. Would that be similar to Exodus 34, or is it completely different and unrelated?
I think they're all representations. Okay. So basically God is, if you like, using things in this world to represent him so that people can see something that actually represents something about God to them. And that's usually his bigness and his scariness. That's with Isaiah, that's with
Ezekiel.
Although with Isaiah, it's also his holiness, his otherness,
Yeah.
and Ezekiel, it's his just immenseness and his glory. And so, yeah, I think it's God using bits and pieces of the world to show what he's like.
Which takes us back to the first question about light and dark.
Ooh.
That thing of
Ooh.
we understand what light is, we understand what dark is, and that helps us.
Yeah.
Yeah, a common element of visions of God is always light,
Yes.
lots of light.
Sweet. Here is the big question that is the second yes. They preface it hopefully not too irrelevant, and I will say to that, no question is too irrelevant. Feel free to ask anything and everything, as long as it's somewhat answerable, and maybe somewhat related to something that these people might know. So, yeah, I've undermined everything I just said. But anyway, question about Matthew 12, verse 7. So if you want to look that up, that's probably helpful. But it says, here Jesus says that the Pharisees had been condemning the innocent. And the word innocent seems to go against there is none righteous or have sinned, which sounds a bit Romans 3:10-ish. Who do you say Jesus is talking about here?
Okay, so I think the nature of the question is nobody's innocent. There's no such thing as an innocent person, so why does Jesus call someone innocent? Is that right?
Yeah, that's sort of the vibe of it.
I think the answer is we use words in a limited form, right? So if I say you're innocent of stealing my lunch, it doesn't mean you're innocent of everything, does it?
No.
Right, there could be other things you're guilty of, right?
Absolutely.
There most likely are things you're guilty
Definitely.
of, right? So I think what Jesus is talking about is innocent of a particular charge,
Okay.
right? So he's not saying completely innocent.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's my quick and dirty answer. So if that's not what you were searching for, but when someone's declared innocent, they're never declared completely innocent of all things. Usually when we say someone's innocent, we're referring to a particular thing that that they're innocent of.
That's. And there's a context of this, of the priests back in David's time. David and his companions are hungry. He goes to the temple. The priests go, here's some bread. And he's saying that it was okay for the priests to do that.
Yeah.
They're innocent.
They're innocent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've accidentally opened a heap of things, some of which I have not
What's
read
the
out.
word of the day?
Oh, Wordle is a sin.
What's the word of the day, Benny?
I don't want to wreck it for anyone.
No. Here is a quick fire round. 2 questions. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
No.
I feel like that might be a trick question, but no.
It certainly is. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Second question. Why did you remove your lockdown beard?
Oh, right. I grew it on a whim. I shaved it on a whim.
Fair enough.
So I just grew it because I did, and then I went, I'm done with it now.
Yep. Fresh start.
So I shaved it off.
Nice.
Mm.
Cool. So I'm just doing some mad scrollies. Also, with any of your questions, if you feel unsatisfied with the answer, or you want to push it in another direction,
Shade
or
4.
feel free to add on to your question or tack on or say something else, or you get the vibe. Here is a question. Why does John not just use Jesus' name? So, passage we've read tonight says, why does he call him the Word and the Light and all that sort of jazz?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is he not?
It's
In the
intriguing.
beginning was Jesus.
It's, he leaves a bit of mystery.
I was reading 1 John chapter 1, does
Oh.
the same thing there.
Yeah, John just
Very
likes doing that.
fascinating.
Which is from the beginning.
The way he rolls.
Heard. Yes.
It seems to be a bit like that. He wants to talk about him before he names him.
And there's just that, John has that vibe and like poetry and themes. It's more thematic than a chronological, I'm telling a story, I'm telling it in order. Yeah, so...
I actually wonder why he names Jesus Christ in verse 17. Like he actually names him eventually. Because he could have just waited and just left it till the narrative bit.
True.
But he makes the connection.
So that's like in Matthew, like, I'm sorry. They ruined the story by saying, and Judas, the one who betrayed Jesus.
Yeah. I reckon that's a really interesting thing, isn't it? That often in the Gospels, because they're the apostles, right? These are the people who hung around with Jesus, and they when they name Jesus, they can't help but say the one who betrayed him. And I think it's because it's just affected them so much. Imagine these guys, they hung around with each other for 3 years, and they were just all together. It would have been such a huge thing. Yeah. Yeah. Can't believe it. They should have written that in there.
So it's a bit
Can't believe it.
It's a bit of a plot spoiler, but also it alerts us, and so as we keep reading, we got our eye out for Judas, and it's like, oh, there's that Judas guy, you know.
Yeah.
And so it actually affects how we see Judas and how we read it, because we've been told he's the one that's going to do this.
It adds an emotional layer.
Yeah.
You kind of go, he's the traitor, he's the bad, you know. Yeah.
See Judas, it's like boo hiss.
There's a bit where John actually talks about Judas, that he loved money, and it's really interesting. Oh, gee. I'm not going to repeat that one on the microphone, Justin.
Spicy. Another question. Yes. John wrote this gospel.
Yep.
Based on what we've read, verses 1 to 18, we don't know much about John.
No.
What things should we
know
know about
a
John?
different John.
We do. A Baptist John, or a baptizing John. What about this John who wrote the gospel? What are some things we should know about him?
What do we know about John? We know he's one of two brothers who are pretty close.
Jimmy and Johnny.
We know they were mummy's boys.
Sons of Zebedee.
Also called the Sons of Thunder.
The Boanerges.
I don't know. I don't think that's about flatulence. Might be, but
Stormy boys.
Fishermen.
Yeah, they were fishermen. They were pretty gung ho. They were, along with Peter, the closest to Jesus. So when you think about Jesus and his disciples, there's kind of layers, and these two brothers, John and his brother James and Peter, were the closest to Jesus. They were the kind of, I guess, the upper tier of the 12.
And later on, like the one is referred to as the one whom Jesus loved.
Yeah. Yep. And he seems to be the one who lived the longest.
Yes.
So John's books are the later books, written when he was quite old, when possibly the rest of the 12 were already gone.
Soul survivor.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy. He's very. They're impetuous. They're quite. They're blokes. They're blokey blokes, I think.
Fishing blokes.
The fishermen. Yeah. If you imagine an Aussie fisherman with a casket full of 4X, and that. Oh no, maybe not that. They were professional fishermen.
Yeah.
But they do seem to be a bit kind of. There's a lot of kind of male gusto.
Yeah.
Going around.
That boyish bravado.
Yep.
Sweet. Any other questions that people want to text through, or if you want to shoot one down?
Am I correct in understanding that the Apostle John is not the John who wrote the Gospel? They're different dudes?
Yeah, look, I can't tell you. I think he is, but there's an argument. People argue about that back and forth, right? I guess everyone wants to argue about the books and some books and who wrote them. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, that's the John. But yeah.
Yes. Oh, Isaac. Now, at the moment, I think I've been through all the texts. Okay. If someone's texted and I haven't answered your question, please send like something else after it, and I'll notice.
Why did John write the gospel?
Oh, what a great question.
Yeah. You should ask him.
I feel like she's a fisherman there. Because there's an answer. John gives us an answer.
At the end?
Chapter 20, verse 30. Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. So John comes back around to the very things he's been talking about in this opening. You know, these key ideas of life and of glory and life and truth and yeah.
And is there like a specific view that he's talking about in that verse, or is it just like?
Ooh. There's like that. What you're asking is, was there an original audience? This letter, did he write it to a particular group of people? It doesn't seem so. I think there's different kinds of books in the New Testament, and what you've got to imagine is, you know, these people walked around with Jesus for a few years. They witnessed his death and his resurrection, and they're sent out to proclaim this message. And they begin to do that. They begin to teach the stories about Jesus. And as they do that, people begin collecting those stories together. So very early on, people are writing the things that these people are saying down, right? But they're a bit here and a bit there. And the first books of the New Testament that are written are the letters of Paul. And so Paul's letters are most of the early books of the New Testament. And at some point, the apostles start kind of collecting together their material, if you like. And sometimes it's the apostle themselves, and sometimes it's someone like Mark who's attached to them. But what they're doing is collecting together all these things that they were talking about and putting them together. And they, none of the four Gospels seem to be written to a particular group of people. They seem to be written to people broadly, like, you know, this is for all of yous. Yeah. So it's a really good question. And they therefore carry that kind of flavour, that kind of that tantalising kind of flavour, like this book is written to me, you know, and I think you get that sense with John. Yeah. It's very immediate and in your face. It's a good question.
Yeah. Good question. Awesome. Unless anyone has a sneaky last minute, which I don't know that people will. Maybe. Or is that a hand gen or is that a... Okay then. You get off the hook this time, but not next time. So we'll wrap up our Q&A there. So thanks for joining us, Leslie, Sano. I forgot to introduce you before. It's too late now.
Perhaps you can intro next week.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Leslie, if you'd like to chuck it... Actually, Haley doesn't need a mic. Well, you can give her a mic, just for fun. Not that she needs one.
Can we give him mic too?
To Haley. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to move this way so I'm not in the corner. And I believe we are getting rid of our online audience. Not getting rid of in a harsh way. We're not cutting you out and cutting you off, but currently, how you going? If you're watching this in the future and looking back, also, good job. And it's been great to share the evening with you in this weird and wonderful way. We'll see you next time on our next thing. Sweet.